Hey guys, Stephanie with AmericanMuscle.com here with the Sprint Booster Power Converter for all 2005 and up Mustangs. The Sprint Booster Power Converter is going to be a good option for those of you out there that are looking to easily improve the throttle response of your car. This is a plug-and-play device that won't void warranty or add power and torque. It simply improves the drive-by-wire throttle response. The electronic throttle control technology, or drive-by-wire setup, there is a lag between the time you hit the pedal and when the throttle body opens. Now this isn't something that you can change by driving differently, it's just there, and that's how these cars work. The throttle body is still going to open at the same rate no matter how you drive. This power converter eliminates that delay by changing and increasing the signal from the pedal to the throttle body. Of course, this isn't going to add any power or change anything in the way the car drives besides the throttle response. It's going to make the throttle response more sensitive and the drive more enjoyable. This is going to be a great option for those of you that don't want to go the route of a custom tune. Maybe you don't want the other things that come along with the tune, but you just want a better throttle response, and that's it. So this is everything that you're going to get with the power converter. You guys can see it's very simple. It's going to make for a simple install as well, which is something that's really nice. So basically what's going to happen is this is your controller right here. There are 3 different modes with this converter, which I'll talk about in a second, but this is how you're going to change between your different modes. So this needs to be installed somewhere within your reach, so you can just press this button and change your mode to go in between the 3 different modes. That then is going to plug into this jumper harness right here on the back side of this plug. It just plugs right in. You guys will see when we do the install footage. It's very simple, and this just goes right into your factory harness, and that's basically how it's going to work. So like I said, the converter does come with 3 different modes. It comes with off, sport, and race mode, so you can customize your throttle response to a certain degree. Off is your normal stock throttle response with no interaction from the converter at all. The sport mode will give you an increased response, but it's not going to have the full effect that the race mode has. The race mode is going to get as linear as things get. It's almost a 1-to-1 ratio between the pedal and the throttle body. It's going to be close to the response that a drive-by cable setup gives. You can expect to spend right around the $300 mark for this power converter, and there are different power converters for different transmissions, so just make sure you pick the correct option if you pick one of these up. Now this is close to the price of a custom tune for your car, but this is a little bit easier. You just plug this in and go. As far as the install, this is a very simple one. So it's a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the meter, and it's gonna take about 15 minutes to get plugged in. I'd say that the hardest part of this is laying under the dash. You don't need any tools at all. The converter plugs directly between the factory harness and the accelerator module. You unplug the factory harness from the module and plug the booster to the module, then plug the factory harness to the booster. Now that we've got this installed, we installed it on a 2015 GT, I can actually get in the car and see how this is going to change things in our throttle response. Now I'm expecting a big change, but I do have to test it to make sure. Alright, so we are going to test the Sprint Booster Power Converter in the 2015 GT. We're going to test it in off position first, obviously, because I want to get a good feel for the differences that this is going to make. It feels normal. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the car. There's just a little bit of gap between the time that your foot actually steps on the throttle and then the response. It's just the normal drive-by-wire. I'm used to it. I'm sure you guys are all used to it as well. But we want to actually see if we can get rid of a little bit of that waiting period to have just a little bit better driving experience. Even as you're driving down the road, and say you're driving and you have it off like I have it off right now, I want to test the sport mode, which is more of a progressive opening on your throttle body and not full race mode, just a little bit, something improved over factory but not all out race mode. Like right now, try to hit it 3 times. So you can adjust as you're driving down the road. I just hit it right now. I can already tell, huge difference in shifts. It's gonna take me a second to actually adjust my driving. Oh yeah, there's a big difference already even in the sport mode. I can tell right away. That little hesitation that the car had before is gone. It's definitely a much sportier drive. We're not changing anything, so we're not adding horsepower or anything. We're just changing the throttle response, and the throttle response alone in the driving experience is going to make it feel like a totally different car. So I just put it in sport. It's a little hard to see, sorry. Sport is green, so it's 1 click. So when everything's off and there's no interference and there's no difference in throttle response, your converter is actually going to come up clear. There's a little button on it. You can see the light that's on it. The light isn't going to be on. You're not going to see anything. I pressed it 1 time and I got the green light, so now I know that I'm in sport mode. and then red is gonna be race mode. So sport mode, like I said already, I can tell a big difference in the car. It took me a second, it took me like 2 shifts to actually figure out how the car's thinking differently. I was a little bit skeptical about this product. I wasn't 100% sure what to expect from it. I didn't know how much of a difference it was gonna make, but I could tell immediately right away that even, like I said, even sport mode is gonna give me a little bit of a difference there. I'm not really used to driving stock cars, so when I first got in this car, my first few shifts were pretty terrible because you gotta get used to that delay all over again. And sport mode kind of puts the car right in a spot where I'm used to driving. I'm used to driving cars that are tuned and that have a little bit of work done to them. And so this just feels like a more comfortable drive for me personally. It's actually really nice to take away that little bit of hesitation with the throttle response. Like I said, if you're used to it, it doesn't really feel like a big deal, but the second you take that away, it completely changes that driving experience. We're coming up to another red light now, so I actually want to try to switch this thing into race mode, and we will see what that feels like. Honestly, now I'm kind of expecting a pretty big difference, especially over having this off, because I noticed such a big difference between going from off to sport mode, so I am expecting a much bigger difference. You can see, I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, this car's pretty quiet inside the cabin. The idle didn't change, nothing's changing in the car. Immediate change in throttle response, just like taking off there. And this feels way more like the drive that I'm used to with no hesitation. So we're not adding any horsepower, like I said, we're just changing throttle response. And even though we're not adding any horsepower, the car actually feels faster to me because it's responding differently to the throttle. So it's a much more fun drive already, and I'm just shifting and driving normally. Like I said, completely changing that driving experience that I talked about earlier. It just feels like it's a lot easier to get up to speed. I'm noticing that I'm getting up to speed a lot easier in race mode. And there's no side effects, there's nothing else that's happening with the car. We're just changing the opening and closing of the throttle body and how fast that it does it. So the race mode is actually, like I said in the shop, the closest that you're gonna get to a linear reaction. It's as close to 1-to-1 as possible. I'm in 5th gear right now in race mode, and even in 5th gear in the low RPMs, the car just feels better. It's right there with you. It's a little bit more willing. Even if you rev match when you downshift like I do, like it's a lot easier to get that rev matched than it was before when this was off. I like race mode. I'm surprised at the difference that this thing makes. I was a little bit concerned before I drove the car. Is this really going to make a difference? I was curious to know, and it definitely does. It definitely works. It's very easy to install. You can just set it right here within reach, and I like that you can change it as you're driving down the road. You don't have to pull over, you don't have to turn the car off, you don't have to do anything. Since you're not really changing anything besides the signal from your foot and the pedal directly to the throttle body. All right, since we're here and we're stopped, we're gonna go back to nothing. So going from race back to nothing is just a single click. So now I'm back to my stock driving experience. Feels fine, nothing's broken, just a little slow. Gotta be a little bit more patient if I wanna drive the car smoothly. And then I can actually change this as I'm driving down the road. So I know that 2 clicks up is gonna be race mode. So I actually wanna go from the factory or from having off to race mode so I can actually see the difference that this is gonna make. So sport right now I'm in race, double check my light, and it's red. So now I know I'm in race mode. And honestly, I am pretty surprised at the difference that this is making. I'm definitely feeling a very noticeable difference. It's not huge, we're not adding any more power, but this is a great option for you guys that don't necessarily want to go the route of a tuner, but you want to have a little bit more fun driving. You want a car that feels healthier and stronger. This is going to have an effect on how fast you get up to speed and just your driving experience overall. I like the race mode. It's not crazy, it's not over the top, it just feels more healthy to me, and the car's more right there with you. It just, you just want to continue and get up to speed and go through the RPMs, and that's a little bit more fun for me. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap things up for the Sprint Booster power converter that's available for the 05 and up Mustang. Now, it does have 3 different settings like I mentioned before. There's an off, there's a sport mode, and there's a race mode as well. If you guys are interested in it, you can always head over to the website and check it out right here at AmericanMuscle.com.